Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my channel. Today, I want to talk about squares and square roots. Square simply means the product of two equal numbers or two equal terms. What we mean by square is what? The multiplication of two same number. For instance, when I have something like 2 multiplied by 2, the result this thing gives is what we call a square. So 4 now means the value we get when any two equal numbers are multiplied together. And remember, the major condition there is that the number that we want to multiply together must be the same thing, and the value such a multiplication or the value such a product gives is what we call a square. Now we are going to take or look at some example. Now, example 1, find the squares of the following. Number 1 there, I have 14. In number 2, 21. In number 3, that is 6 plus 2 raised to power 2. Number 4, I have 5 plus 1 squared, everything over 7 minus 5 squared. Now, those are the very first set of questions that we have. So, solutions now. So, number 1, I have 14. So, since I'm asked to find the square, so it has to be written in this form, 14 raised to power 2. And 14 raised to power 2 in this case becomes 14 multiplied by 14. So, and by multiplication, it might be better we show how the working. So, I can do it here as 14 times 14. We know 4 times 4 here gives 16 with remainder of 1. And 4 times 1 here is 4 plus that 1 5. 1 times 4 4 and 1 times 1 1. The result that gives is what? 196. So 14 square gives the value of 196. In number 2, so I have 21 squared. So it has to be written as 21 squared since I'm asked to find what? The square of 21. So that is going to be written as 21 times 21. So the multiplication can be done in this case as well. 1 times 1 1, 1 times 2 2, 2 times 1 here is 2, and 2 times 2 here gives 4. So you can see the result here is 4 4 1. In number 3, what I have is 6 plus 2 squared. Now the rule of ordinals will have to be applied a little bit in this case. That is, the item or the element which we have inside the bracket has to be taken care of. So since I have 6 plus 2, and we know the value of 6 plus 2 is what? Is 8. So that thing will be changed to 8 initially. Because so finding the square of any number, so the number has to be a number. It must be a single number. But the square of what we have to find here is more than 1 digit. So we must find a way or means of what? Combining the two numbers first. So when we combine these two numbers by the instruction, by the operational symbol here, so we know the information here means we should add. So when we are able to add the two, the result that gives is 8. So what we now have is its square is now going to be determined. So we are now going to look for square of 8. And remember, finding the square of 8 means we are going to say that what? 8 times 8. And that one will give the value of what? 64. That is number 3. So in the last aspect of this question, we have 5 plus 1 squared. Everything here over 7 minus 5 squared. We know what it means is we have to do what we have inside the bracket first. So 5 plus 1 here gives 6. So that will be written as 6 squared. Everything here over 7 minus 5 here gives the value of 2 squared. Which is the same thing as 6 times 6 over 2 times 2. And we know this becomes 36 over 4. And 4 in 36 is 9. So our final result here is equal to 9. So that is how far we can go with the concept of square. So right now we are going to talk about square root of numbers. Now square root. Now by square root, that means when a number multiply itself. A number such that when multiply it by itself equals a given number. So that's what we mean by what? The square root of the number. Now, such number that multiply itself to produce a given value. So, one of such a number is what we term as what? As square root of any given number. And it might be necessary we want to determine the square root of any number. So, doing that involves two processes. There is a factor method and there is a basic method. So under that basic method, so one just have to know that square root of 9 is 3, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 1 is 1, and so on. But the best way to learning or knowing it is by what? Making use of the factor method. So we are going to take some examples in order to analyze that. Now, example 2 now. Find the square root of the following. Number 1, I have 1, 2, 2, 5. Number 2 is 81. Number 3, 144. Number 4, 16 over 25. Number 5, 89 minus 25, like this. And let me add one more question to it. 101 minus 36 minus 1. Okay, so the solutions here in number 1, so I have 1, 2, 2, 5. Now the procedure I want to use is what we call the factor method. So under the factor method, what I have to do initially is to divide this number in such a way that it will become 1. So doing that, we are going to adopt the system of division we make use of under the LCM as well as the HCF. Now the first thing is to think of a number that can divide this. So we can make use of 5. Now 5 in 12 here gives 2 with the remainder of 2. 5 in 22 here gives 4 with the remainder of 2. And 5 in 25 here gives 5. So 5 can be applied as well. So 5 in 24 here gives 4 with the remainder of 4, and 5 in 45 here is what? 9. And we can see 5 can no longer divide this number, but the next number we can make use of is what? 7. So 7 in 49 here gives 7, and 7 in 7 gives the value of 1. Now remember, we have to find the square root. Now we are now going to say that the square root of 1225 is equal to. Now, what we are going to do now is, when we observe this, our division here, we are going to see that in this situation, we have numbers appearing more than once. Most especially, a given number is appearing 2 times. So what we are going to do is, we are going to connect any two number that appear, any number that appear 2 times. So we are going to do it like this first. Now, to find the square root using the factor method means one of these number is what we are interested in. So this and this becomes only 15 multiplied by. So these are another 2 numbers. So what also happened there is that what? So the 2 will combine to form just what? 1 number. So we are now going to multiply the 2 numbers together. So the result it gives is the square root of the number. So square root of 1225 now becomes what? 35. So in number 2. What we have there is 81. Just like I said above, that there are 2 ways by which we can approach solving this question. One way is by factor method, and the other one is when we just make use of facts, what one knows. Like when we see this one, if we want to do without making use of the factor method, so we just to say this time around that square root of 81 is 9. But since our aim is to make use of what? The factor method. So the first thing we are going to do is to write out the number and divide the number in such a way that it's reduced to 1. So we are now going to be thinking of the likely factors that can divide 81. So the first of such number is what? 3. We know 3 in 8 here is 2. 3 in 8 here is 2 with the remainder of 2. And 3 in 21 here gives what? 7. We know the number we can use again is what? 3. 3 in 27 here gives 9. And 3 in 9 here gives 3. 3 in 3 here gives 1. So square root of 81 here becomes, now remember I said above that we are going to be pairing numbers, and the basis of pairing it is going to be in 2. So I'm going to pair this and this together. Only 2 numbers has to be picked at a time. Now this is one set of numbers, and this is another set of numbers. So the combination of this and this will produce what? Just one out of the 2 numbers. A combination of this and this will as well what? Produce one of these 2 numbers. And the result that gives is 3 times 3, which is equal to 9. And from basic thing that we are all used to, we know square root of 81 will automatically give 9. Now the next is number 3. There we have 144. When we want to apply our factor method as well, so we know the first thing or the initial thing we have to do here is to cut this number, to reduce this number until it becomes 1. So, and I know the simplest of the numbers by which this thing can be divided is 2. So let's begin our division with 2. 2 in 14 here gives 7, and 2 in 4 here gives 2. So 2 can be applied again. 2 in 7 here is 3 with the remainder of 1, making 12 here. 2 in 12 here is what? 6. We know 2 is still a good factor to be used here. 2 in 36 here gives what? 18. 2 in 18 here gives 9. 3 in 9, 3. And 3 in 3 here gives what? 1. So we are now going to say that the square root of 144 is equal to. So remember, to getting our answer here, we have to what? Be pairing numbers. And the basis of that pairing has to be 2. So I have to combine this and this. This and this. This and this. Now we can see the result of pairing this and this gives 1 out of the 2 numbers. This and this will produce 2, while this and this will produce 3. So arriving at our answer means I have to multiply everything I have here. 2 times 2 here is 4, and 4 times 3 here gives 12. So square root of 144 here gives the value of 12. The next one, that is number 4. So what we have there is square root of 16 over 25. Now number 4 here, square root of 16 over 25. I have 16 over 25. Now this is the same thing as saying that square root of 16 over square root of 25. So we now go and what? Deal with it individually. So since I have 2 numbers, so the division, since we want to apply a factor method, means my 16 will be written here and I will divide it until it becomes 1. So 2 in 16 gives 8, 2 in 8 gives 4, 2 in 4 gives 2, and 2 in 2 gives the value of what? 1. So the same thing will happen to 25. So 5 in 25 here is 5, and 5 in 5 here gives the value of 1. So we can now go ahead with what we have to do here, that is the square root of 16 over 45. So remember, by the factor method, we are interested in 2 numbers at a time. So let us pick them. So I'm going to pair this and this, as well as this and this. This and this will also have to be paired. Now we are interested in what? Picking one out of these 2, or we can say that what? These 2 numbers combine to give what? 2. And these 2 numbers here will as well combine to give what? 2. Followed by what? Divided by. Now at the denominator level, what we have is this pair. Then remember, combination of these 2 numbers also gives what? 5. And that becomes 4 over 5. And this is going to be taken as our answer because this number is in its what? In its basic or in its simplest form. Now the next is what we have in number 5. In that case, we are asked to find the square root of 89 minus 25. Now, to finding the square root of this number means to finding the square root of any number, such a number must exist as a single number. So, which means this operation sign will have to be made use of before we ever think of what? Determining its square root. So, to do that, the subtraction will have to come up first. So, I have 89 minus 25. 9 minus 5 here is 4, while 8 minus 2 here is 6. So, that one will become 64. So what we're now going to do is we pick this 64, we divide it until it becomes 1, and we carry out the pairing approach. So I have my 64 here. I will keep dividing. 2 in 64 here gives 32. 2 in 32 here is 16. 2 in 16 is 8. 2 in 8 is 4. 2 in 4 is 2, as well as 2 in 2 gives the value of 1. So which means I'm going to pair them in 2s, just like I said. So this and this will combine to produce 2. This and this will combine to produce 2. This and this as well will combine to produce 2. So when we multiply, the result we have is now the required answer. So I have 2 times 2 4, 4 times 2, which gives the value of 8. And in the final one, which is number 6, we have to find the square root of 101 minus 36 minus 1. Now, the initial thing we have to do here is what? To carry out the simple operation which we have here. Now, that can be done in one corner here. 101 minus 36. Now, 11 minus 6 here gives 5. We know this is 9. 9 minus 3 here is what? Is 6. 9 minus 3 here is 6. So, let's look at that once again. Now, this is 11. 11 minus 6 here gives 5. While this is now 9. So, 9 minus 3 here gives 6. So, that means we have to find what? So, it's reduced to 65. Now, we are going to reduce this number to 1. So, I have my 65 here. So, 5 can be used. So, 5 is 65. Okay, 5 and 5 here is 1. With the remainder of what? 1. 5 and 15 here gives 3. Now, since 3 is a prime number, nothing else can divide it other than 13 itself. So 13 in 13 is 1. So we can see that the square root of 65 this time around, we are going to leave it at 65. Or because this is what? This is in its basic form. Why do we say this is in basic form? Because while using the factor method, it is not possible to do what? To pair this. Remember, those examples which we have been dealing with since, the pairing has to do with what? Same number. Only the same number can be paired. But since the numbers which we have there are not the same, pairing is not possible. And once the pairing is not possible, what it means is that number is in its basic form. So we can't determine its square root. So the best way to do it, the best thing to now do this time around is what? We leave the result at. So square root of 101 minus 96 minus 1 gives the value of 65. And finally today, we also want to talk about square root of numbers, making use of table. So we are going to talk about 3 examples. Now use table to find the square root of the following. The square root of the following. Now number 1, 6.2. Number 2, 37. Number 3, 13. Number 4, 79. And number 5 is 9.93. Now solving this one is very simple. All we just have to do is to make use of what? The square root table. Now that is always at the back of mathematics textbook, or we can also find it, a copy of it, in the 4-figure table. Now number 1, that is under the solutions. So number 1, I'm asked to find the square root of 6.2. So what I would rather do is I would go under the table. So what I will look for now is 6.2. Now I need to look up for 6.2. So by my table here, Now I have my 6.2 here. Now, so that 6.2 is going to be looked for under, the number can be found under 1, 2, 3 up to 9. But in this case, since it is purely 6.2 we are going to assume it is under 0. So that's going to be 6.2 under 0. And the value that gives is 2.490. So square root of 6.2 is 2.490. In number 2, that is 37. Now, when we observe the way this table is arranged, so we have the case of decimal number separate from the case of what? Of whole number. So in case of whole number, what we are going to look up for now is 37 under 0. And by 37 under 0, the value we have is 6.083. So that is going to be 6.083. Now in number 3, we have 13. You can as well see this is a whole number rather than a decimal number. So we are also going to make use of 13 under 0. And by 13 under 0, what I have is 3.606. So now 13, that is 3.606. In number 4, what I have here is 79. Now to find the square root of 79, we can see this is a whole number. So we also look for where we have 79. So here is my 79. I have to look up for 79 under 0. And that gives 8.888. That is 8.888. Finally, in number 5, we have 9.93. Now we can see this is a case of decimal number. So we have to shift our attention back to the one that deals with what? The decimal number. Now I have 9.93. The basic thing is the first 2 digits. Now I will look for 9.9. Now this is my 9.9. But since I have additional number, so that means the value of 9.9 I need is going to be under that additional value of what? Additional number, which is 3. That is now going to be 9.9 under 3. Now the way this thing is arranged is, it started from 0, 1, 2 up to 9. Now this is 9.9 under 0, under 1, under 2, under 3. Since what we need is 9.9 under 3, then the result we need is this, which is 3.151. So the square root of that is now going to be 3.151. So this is where we are going to call it a day in today's class. So hopefully by God's grace, in the next class, we are going to be talking about another subtopic. Thanks once again for joining my channel.